So I came straight out of undergrad. I went to undergrad back in Texas at TCU. But I knew for a while I wanted to go straight into a master's program. I wanted to hone my public policy skills. I was a political science undergrad, but I wanted that MPP, MPA sort of experience before I went into the workforce. I applied kind of all over. I applied to schools on the West Coast, on the East Coast, in Texas, and the Midwest, just kind of super broad scope of where I applied. And I think the thing that sealed it with Batten for me was the experience I had when I came and visited that March. I think what I valued personally when I was looking for a school was less like the rankings or like the prestige of the school, as opposed to where I could see myself finding community and knowing that I was going to be going pretty far from where I had been. Being able to integrate myself into a community pretty early on and still receive like a high level of educational training was sort of what I was looking for, and I got that through UVA, and that was proven to me when I came and visited. So I prioritized UVA's or Batten particularly's newness and sense of being small and tight knit and being able to make connections across the board, which I saw less at some of the bigger programs I applied to, like Indiana or Washington.
I also decided after a March visit, not the same one that Christian came on. I actually kind of had decided that I wanted to get an MPP or an MPA as well, and had decided on policy school, generally somewhere around the Southeast, but just kind of threw my hat in the ring for Batten and didn't know a lot about it. And figured I should give it its due diligence and actually learn about it before I made an admissions decision. And so I came for a visit and was so impressed at how quickly the admissions department was able to put together a really meaningful and personalized program for me. It wasn't an admissions event, and it was I also was in Texas at the time, not with Christian, but it was kind of last minute that I would even be here. And so I talked to Jeff a lot about kind of the evolution of Batten. And I really liked the leadership component of the curriculum. And I also did feel that sense of community. I felt welcomed by the students, the faculty, the staff, and I was just here for an afternoon. But I got to see just a little bit of Charlottesville and the area around grounds, and it just kind of stuck with me. And so I didn't, commit formally for a few weeks after that, but I found myself comparing every other school to my Batten visit as I went on more, and I figured that was a pretty good sign that maybe I should accept the offer to come here, and I'm glad I did.
I can go next. So I previously was working and managing an AmeriCorps grant. I went into the workforce for about 2 years after I graduated undergrad, and was really frustrated with the systems that I felt like I was perpetuating or having like a very succinct hand in continuing, and not really, I think we weren't making a difference as much as we would like to say that we were. And so with that frustration, I think that the only way that I could justify getting it out was getting into the systems level work of it, which is the policy, is the structures, is the institutions that kind of create the current inequities and injustices that we see. And Batten specifically, even though my policy area of interest doesn't have a center or doesn't have professors that are very well versed in housing policy or community development policy, I thought that the flexibility of the curriculum to go take all of my elective classes in the planning school could supplement what would be a planning degree in a policy school. But also I have a much more well-rounded curriculum experience. Kind of like what Emily said, I was really intrigued by the leadership curriculum part of the Batten experience.
So I can kind of speak to the accelerated experience. I knew I was interested in policy in general, and I was a foreign affairs undergrad, so politics more broadly. And I was interested in potentially the undergraduate major through Batten, but I realized I really liked the emphasis also on developing quantitative skills within the MPP. Um, and the descriptor for the undergraduate program as more of a policy advocate, but in the MPP level, it's more policy analyst. And I liked the idea of the hard skills that I would develop through the MPP. That really attracted me to the MPP program, as well as the community. I know I'm echoing all my peers in that. It really stands out, especially just the space that we occupy on grounds. Garrett Hall is this massive room that has tables, typically in a normal semester where everyone studies. And I liked that idea of that really community aspect, and depending on your peers, all coming in from different walks of life and experience. So that was a big selling point for me, the idea of the community, and then also the quantitative skills, which I didn't have a background in. I am not a big quantitative person, and it was hard. I will definitely not sugarcoat it. RMDA was a learning curve for sure, but I'm so grateful for it now. And it's really helpful in applications and being able to say, okay, I can break down a research report and understand those concepts. But yeah, so those two different things were big selling points for me.